started. Hey everyone. I say this every week. It is really hard for me to believe that we are on week 12 now of the Homes and Money Realtor Mastermind. And I have a guest that I'm really excited about. I've been excited about all of our guests. And I shared a little bit last week about maybe how I got her to agree to be here. And that is that I had asked her, and at the time she said it wasn't a good time, and then walked into the gymnasium at Plains Junior High, and her daughter plays 7th grade basketball, my daughter plays 8th grade basketball, and so I sat right next to her and I said, "When are you going to be on my show?" And she's like, "Okay, all right, let's send me some dates and I'll do it." So I have Lisa Phair here, and to be honest with you, I have just started to get to know Lisa. I think officially we worked together once or twice before, but then I met her in person at the Real Producers Christmas party last year. And we compared ugly Christmas sweaters, and Jeff was there and the rest of the team. And so it's been a process, but again, having daughters in the same school, and then as much as she's involved in the Lakota community, I have enjoyed getting to know her. So Lisa, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, thank you. And as I listen to you say that, I immediately think, oh no, because I never mind to do these things. I love to participate in them. I love to, share and hear all of your other wonderful guests that you've already had. So when I hear that, I think, oh gosh, but I honestly, Robert, I'm just glad that you continue to ask, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you for that. And you know this, and we talked this weekend. Most of the people that are on here have been guests before and have at least watched or participated, and hopefully they know that my intentions are not to get on here and sell. And you had said that to me on Saturday in a text that, no, I just want to provide as much value to the community and to the industry and to those around me, and see what happens from there. Right. So again, welcome today. I want to just jump right in because I want to be respectful of people's time. But Lisa, where are you from? Are you from this area?
Yeah, so like our friend Lindsay, I grew up in Trenton. I graduated from Edgewood. I think Lindsay and I have talked about our difference in age. I feel like I'm a whole lot older than her, but I'll say that when I grew up in Trenton, it was even smaller. It was a one stoplight town. And after that, I went to the University of Cincinnati. And so I didn't always live in Trenton. I moved to the big city in Clifton. And while I was attending school there, that's actually when I met Jeff, my husband. And then we lived in several states. We worked for Dave & Buster's, and we were part of an opening team that went into different markets and opened up different locations. So we had the ability to live in some different areas for a while before we settled back here when we were having our oldest daughter, Grace. So we've been in Liberty Township now for 16 years.
Awesome. And so Dave & Buster's and a couple of different states. How did you end up getting into real estate?
Well, so yeah, when we moved back, I was, I think I was about 23, and driving our first home. We owned our first home then, and it was in Trenton. And I would drive up and down 747 to get to Dave & Buster's in Springdale. I did corporate events and marketing. And every day I would drive by the Sibsey Klein Lakota Beckett office. And because we owned a home at that point, I was very, intrigued by real estate. I loved the way it felt like you could earn a living by helping other people. But I'll say that I thought, nobody that's 23 gets in real estate. I mean, every realtor I had ever known at that phase, that point in my life, was a little bit older. So I honestly thought maybe it would be a second career for me. But after 2 years of driving by, I remember one day on the marquee, it said, now hiring new agents. And I was ignorant to what it meant to be an agent. So I literally thought you get hired. And I thought, well, I'll just go in and talk to them. And from that first meeting of learning how to get into the business and really having my first manager, which was Tom Hasselbeck from Sibsey Klein, and he's been around forever, but having his interest in my background and my marketing skills and saying, gosh, you could do this now. I remember going home and telling Jeff that I want to do this and I want to do it now. I don't want to wait. And he's always been my biggest fan. He has always been a huge supporter and a huge cheerleader, but it was a scary time. I would say that was my first sort of big risk because we didn't make a lot of money. I was 23, but we owned a home and my income was 50% of our household income. And so I knew right away that this was going to be make or break for me. I knew that I would have maybe 6 months when I needed to be making my full income. And that by 9 months, if we weren't there, I would probably completely tank us financially. So I just, went into it doing everything that everybody said to do. And I think that I was very fortunate, that first year I didn't have a paycheck for 4 or 5 months, but I did make Circle of Excellence for the second half of that year and fell in love with the industry. And it was exactly what I thought from the perspective that it wasn't sales at all. What I was doing was sales, but this is service.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't remember exactly which guest it was. It may have been one of the early guests, but they said that when they graduated from high school or college, their dad looked at them and said, well, you need a real estate license. It kind of like very
Julia.
Yeah,
Yes,
it was Julia.
that
And it
is
was just like, you're
my
gonna do
good
this.
friend Julia.
Yeah. And Julia just joined, so that may have been why I remembered that. But I remember her saying that when she got old enough, her dad said, well, everybody should have a real estate license, so she got it. So
Yeah. Yep.
But I think starting so young at age 23, that's fantastic. And stepping out, maybe the youth was what helped you take more of the risk, than as opposed to getting later in life and then saying, okay, I'm going to really rock the boat. We've got a couple of kids in diapers, whatever. So yeah, I mean, so
funny. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. It's so funny though, but this is something that I think about a lot. So what's really cool about our industry is that all different backgrounds can succeed, right?
Mhm.
People from all sorts of industries, all different ages, all different parts of town. None of that seems to matter at all. But what I've learned is that the agents that seem to really take it to the next level have the ability to stomach a little bit of risk. And sometimes it's risk when they make changes. Sometimes it's other, forms of risk. But I've looked at other people who are really good agents that are maybe at a certain level and they just haven't gotten any further. And I think to myself, I'm not smarter than them. I'm not better than them. I just, for whatever reason, was given the ability to stomach a little bit of risk and to believe that it was all going to work out, So I don't know why some people are made that way.
Yeah, I think it's one of those survival instincts. I think I've heard before where you could have a sprinter, a world-class sprinter, and they can only basically push their body to a certain limit. But if you make them be chased by a cheetah or a leopard, they're going to run that much further. And so I think some of that is what you're talking about. It's the survival instinct and the risk of I have to make it, and so I think that's spot on.
Yeah.
So Sibsey Klein is where you started. And then obviously the question I would normally ask is, have you been with the same brokerage your whole time? But that's not where you're at today. Has it been 2 stops or was there anywhere in between?
Two stops. So I am in my 20th year now, and I spent the first 11 or so, almost 12 with CBC. I did a couple things. When I was 2 years in the business, so at around, which by the way, I think I actually got my license, just to be clear, at 25. I was thinking about it when I was 23, but I was 25. And so 2 years into the business, I went from sales to management, and absolutely, loved training, loved recruiting and coaching agents. But I also really missed that, the experience of being able to serve buyers and sellers and serve clients. So I decided in late 2006, almost 2007, to get back into sales, of course, not knowing then what was about to change and happen. And so that was the next sort of season of my real estate career, of trying to figure it out and make things happen. Once, I got through that, and of course, I had a couple more babies during that time. I always say the recession was a great time to have more children. But I had a couple more kids, my two that are in junior high now, Leo and Kira. And then about the time that Leo was starting kindergarten and Kira was in preschool and going to be starting kindergarten, which was 9-ish years ago, then I decided to check out Coldwell Banker. And that was sort of I wasn't looking, I'll just be clear. I was very happy with CBC Klein. But I mentioned to you, I'm kind of a data geek, and I noticed that within our market share, that there wasn't a lot of presence from Coldwell Banker. Of course, everyone knew the national brand, but there wasn't a lot of presence during that time, not a lot of market share for many years. And then all of a sudden that started to change. And some of my close friends, Denise Gifford and Lisa Morales, they decided to go to Coldwell Banker. And so I started just doing some research on MLS. I started looking up numbers. And what I discovered was that Coldwell Banker agents at that point in time produced about 15% more on a per agent production. And they had a smaller roster, but had more sales. And Joe King, the CEO, said, "Hey, I really want to sit down with you and have coffee." And I said, "I really just have one question. Why are your agents more productive than other companies?" And from that point on, I just knew that Coldwell Banker was the next sort of step in my career.
Okay, awesome. So I identify as a data geek or a nerd as well, an analytics person. But I'm going to ask a follow-up on that, but I think you hit on something there, and you mentioned this earlier, where your husband Jeff works with you.
Yeah.
What point in your career, I believe it was probably after Coldwell Banker, did you decide to build a team? And what made you decide that, and who helped you with it?
Okay. So as soon as I came to Coldwell Banker, I knew that forming a team was the next step for me. And I would say that those that know me know that I am not motivated by money. I'm not motivated by material things. But I am motivated to serve, and I'm motivated by progress, and progress meaning progress within my business, within my my personal life. And I'd say that the way that I define progress, if there was a way to sort of measure that, would really be by three things. It would be, first, looking within to say, how am I doing at serving my clients? What is their experience like? And could that be better? And then the second thing was really, how am I serving my business partners? What can I be doing to make that better? And then the final thing is looking within, my personal life to say, what am I doing to make sure that I have great work-life balance? So really forming a team was the natural next step to ensure that I could progress in those three ways that I wanted to. So I, like others, there were plenty that went before me. Several teams had already been, started and were doing well. But at the time that I formed my team, 2014, 2015, there was a whole big group of us, and many you've already had as guests, but a whole big group of us that kind of started that and went through that together. And we were so fortunate that we had a company that brought us together like this, in masterminds to share and to ask questions, so that we could all benefit from that. And even still to this day, because, there's nothing certain but change in life. And for my progress today, I still just love to be on calls like this and having opportunities to hear all of these other wonderful agents speak, because there's something that I'm always taking away from that. But for me, it wasn't about increasing units. It wasn't about, specifically, and it wasn't about money or things like that. It was really just about, this is what's next for me, and how do I answer that? Because I'm just a person that's just not really good at staying the same.
Yeah. So, the team that you have now formed, what does it look like? How many people do you have? And obviously, we mentioned that your husband works with you right alongside you.
Yeah.
How do you divvy up responsibilities so that you can still be an awesome mom and dad and figure in the Lakota community? So, what's it look like today?
So today is very different than even a few years ago. We ramped up a lot, forming the team in kind of late 2014, early 2015. For me, it was all about add people, grow, grow, grow. And I kind of got to a place, honestly, that I felt like I was unrecognizable. And at the time, our oldest daughter, it was her senior year, she was graduating, and I had just terrible, terrible work-life balance. And I know that I wasn't a good team leader, and I'm a person who's just brutally honest. And so I'll tell you, I lost a really good teammate because I didn't sort of have my shit together. And through that experience, at around that time is when Jeff and I made the decision, that he would come and be part of the company. And this wasn't completely foreign for us, because when we met, we worked together, and we worked together at all these different locations. And he's my best friend, and I love being around him, and he's everything that I am not. When I can be really, really super intense, he's sort of the softer side of me. So he's kind of that like stability, but at the same time, he's not a super highly organized person. So that's where, we fit together real well. So today our team is a little less than what it was. And I will tell you, it feels really good. And I'm not saying it'll stay this way, because that's the thing, again, that I'll just keep saying, that change is constant. But we have Jeff and I that focus almost exclusively on listings. I think last year we did 6 transactions that were buyers. And that means that we go on appointments together. It means that, when we leave that appointment, he will actually take on a little bit more of an admin role to, get paperwork sent off and to make sure that we have what we need to launch the listing. He enters the listings, orders pictures and handles that sort of part of it. Whereas I'm right alongside, of course, getting that listing, but I'm then going right back out to generate business and work in the community. And then my next business partner is Adam Jones, and he specializes in working with buyers. And and just a phenomenal, asset to our team. He's certainly more like family to me. And when I tell someone about Adam, I can say with my whole heart and soul that I am confident that they're going to get better service with him than with me. And that's because and this is, of course, no offense to anyone here who works and is able to juggle it all. I just recognized within my own world and my own life that if I was truly going to be the very best listing agent and stay on top of things and be able to really understand what sellers need and focus in on that, then I couldn't also be running around with buyers, and vice versa. We've just left a market where people have just scrambled, as we know, for houses. And if someone is more honed in on listings, then maybe they don't know the inventory. They're not proactively searching for pocket listings. They don't know how to position their buyers to win in multiple offers as well as they could. I'm not saying that we don't possess all these skills, but I just felt like in real estate, it was a weird industry where you wear all these different hats. And it's also just as important, the back end of the transaction. We have to have someone who's an extension of us to be able to get that deal to the closing table and to nurture our clients when we are doing something different. And that's where Natalie Pence comes in. And that, I think, anyone that knows Natalie knows that, like, she just exudes this love and comfort to the people that she takes care of, and is fully dedicated to our clients. So I wouldn't say that we divvy up tasks. I would truly say that, these are not my agents. We are business partners. We each wear a specialized hat to do everything we can to make the client experience great.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to speak your language here for a second, and mine as well.
Okay.
You mentioned being a data geek, and you mentioned in this last part about how the team structure goes, that you have the ability to dive into numbers and look at potential pocket listings and, better ways to efficiently market and also serve your buyers and sellers. How are you using data? And Robert, I think about you in this because we talked just 2 weeks ago and you were just rattling off percentages of business, which is very, very impressive to me, because that's how I am. I'm not Rain Man, but I've always remembered certain numbers. So Lisa, how do you guys utilize data in the way that you function and operate as a team?
I love this question because it's really, I think, one of the things that I hope makes me a good business partner with my teammates. We track, I've had a couple of coaches that have told me it's a bit much, Lisa. I could be one of those people that wears the t-shirt that says, pardon me while I overthink this. But we track all sorts of things, right? So a few of those would be number of contracts written per buyer, or percentage of deals that fall through due to inspections, conversion rate among new business, such as somebody that maybe comes from the internet versus someone who was a personal referral or from our sphere of influence. We track the percentage of our buyer controlled sales that are with our partner lenders versus cash or someone that has their outside. We track our average time between contract and close, because if you're going to have a high volume of sales, you don't want your Natalie to keep a deal for 45 days because she's just like holding on to this business if we can get that turned over quickly. So we track all of this so that we can focus on the areas that we know that we can do better. We can focus on coaching, and we can make business decisions. And it's been incredibly beneficial in the past because we were able to see early on, gosh, we're writing 5, 6 offers per buyer. And what do we need to do? And so to have those conversations, we meet every week, and we try to do a portion of our meeting to catch up on, transactions and what's going on with each client. But the other portion of our meeting could be spent role playing. What are we seeing, and focusing in on some of these numbers. And it just, again, the data drives the business decisions, of course, how we spend money and the way we look at things. But more than anything, the benefit to that is it drives us to just be better, and everything that we do, impacts our clients' experience and how efficient we are, so that we can have our personal time. So it's been really a gift in order to look at, even things like sources of business. Where is all of it coming from? And we track that as a team. We track it for buyer controlled sales. We track it as individuals. So I've noticed trends, in the last few years, that I've had higher percentage of internet, which we do a lot of marketing. And so we drive people to our website. But for me this year, looking at that, I really want to increase. About 70% of our business is referral, past client, people we know. So it's some form of referral, right? And I would like to see that closer to about 80-85%. Not that internet is not good, but we all know that when we have the opportunity to work with the people that already know us and trust us and have referred us, then we have the ability to build rapport a little bit quicker, and again, ensure that 5-star experience.
Awesome. So do you take, like you mentioned that you have the data on how many offers per client, and some of our previous guests have mentioned that, they quickly kind of identify whether somebody's truly interested in buying or wasting their time, et cetera. Do you have discussions like that on, listen, Mr. Client, we've made 7 offers. We've yet to come in and ask, do you use that as a strength position for yourself in the negotiation and the coaching of the client?
Yeah. So Adam, with buyers in particular, buyers, we feel to understand and assess their needs is just as important as a seller. And so while you'd never walk in and stick a sign in the yard and just start walking around taking pictures, you wouldn't just go out and show houses to buyers. So Adam is proficient and phenomenal at doing a consultation where he is not only getting to know the buyer's needs and asking all the right questions, but he's educating them up front. And so he would use this to say, look, we're in a tough market, and I'm going to tell you all the ways that you can position yourself to win in multiple offers. And of course, it's your choice what you choose to do. I just want to give you all the options. And of course, he'll provide some insight as to say, this is your risk with each of these decisions, such as waive inspections. Here's your risk, but it is a choice. And of course he can say, we do typically see that buyers in this market are writing 2 offers per home, that sellers aren't going to cover closing costs, all of those things. But I'd be remiss, Robert, if I didn't say that I already know the majority of the people that are on this call, and they know that, right? Like you've brought in the best of the best, So I think that everybody has done a phenomenal job at adjusting to the market, but it allows us, like right now, we have a high percentage of fall throughs with inspections. And, that allows us to say, look, we need to get back to that goal number. My understanding is that the industry standard is about 11%. And I feel like we're better than the industry standard. So we set a goal each year for that to be no more than 10%. So that's a perspective we can share with clients too, is that, if I have a seller in particular that's really nervous, I can say, look, 90% of homes get worked out. At 90% of deals, buyers and sellers come together. We only lose, 10%. And, we'll do everything we can to keep it together. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we use it internally to help ourselves develop. And also we try to also compare that with the market where we can. But I've learned that not the company is itself, and not everyone keeps these same, numbers. So sometimes it's hard to get a comparison.
Sure. So I do want to take this opportunity to say most of you on here run big teams. And one of the things that my coach had asked me to come up with, and it's almost like one of the Bibles that I use in my business. And I don't take that term lightly, but I have an analytics sheet that I built that has all of my revenue and has all of my units closed for every single month, all the way back to when my business started. And I've highlighted at the top the particular year where I grew my team. And I did this because I can see very clearly the following year, the growth that I experienced as an individual based on when I decided to hire that team member. And the reason I have that is because the next time that I feel like I need to grow, and my doubt creeps in, or my mind creeps in, it says, nope, we're good, et cetera, I can go back and look at that spreadsheet and say, man, you idiot, look at this. Every time you've done this, every time you've invested in somebody else to help make yourself better or make your team better, the numbers speak for themselves. And it's just like, you have to give in and you say, okay, I'll do it. So if you don't have something like that, I would absolutely encourage you to create something like that. That is one of probably the most important things for me. The other thing that I use it for, and our industries are very similar, they go hand in hand, actually, real estate and finance. But the other thing that I use it for is to look at trends. And so I've tracked my purchase units based on months to see not only when do I historically have a good purchase volume month and when do I not, because then I know how to ramp up my activity. But I've also used it to figure out weaknesses within my own production. And I'll give you an example. My family historically has always taken 2 weeks off consecutive in July every year. Well, guess what? My production generally suffers either in July or August. And it wasn't until I built that sheet and realized that that's when it suffers. So I have to ramp up my activity 60 days prior to that to cover me through. And so, listen, I love the fact that Lisa's brought up the fact that she's a data geek, because I could talk numbers all day long, but I don't want you guys to think I'm a nerd.
Well, I'm so excited that someone else does it. So I have I know you can't see real well, but like this is showing you sales volume per month. And that's how it's reflected, because I'm also a very visual person. So I will extend, again, all the credit to Natalie for putting together all my data in a way that it makes sense to me. But it also provides some reassurance sometimes that you can look at a month that's particularly bad. And if that fear does sort of creep in a little bit, you can look at, okay, well, the rest of the year worked out. It doesn't mean you can rest. It just means that, again, you're going to be all right.
Yep. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, I have two questions and then we'll open it up. The first question would be, I've mentioned that you're extremely involved in the Lakota community. You're involved with Lakota moms, you're involved with just the different local schools that your kids are in. Do you have a niche, Lisa, or is it kind of like, hey, we'll work anywhere, but we really try to focus in this area? Or is that why you have other team members? What would you say is the Lisa Phair team's niche?
Yeah. So the four of us do all live in Butler County. And, this is where most of our friends and our families are. And so I would say that, yeah, that's absolutely the niche, is serving families like ours. I learned, maybe it's in, doing this for 2 decades, but I learned a long time ago that for me, when I kind of got out of my sort of zone, And it doesn't mean that we don't serve other areas. It just means that we don't do a lot in those other areas, because you can do a lot more volume in your own backyard and have a better quality of life than if you've decided that you're going to, go 20, 30 miles outside of that area. So again, it doesn't mean that we won't, that's for sure. But we do focus our marketing and our community activities here, hyper local in our own backyard. I think that I would say that I'm super passionate about, outside of course, my family and my friends, but I'm super passionate about three things. And real estate, of course, is one of them. Equal rights and fair housing is another. And the third thing that I would say is public schools. So I am a huge supporter of Lakota schools where my kids go. And, I feel so fortunate that I've been blessed in this industry to earn a good living without often feeling like I'm working at all. I love having a chance to build relationships in the community, obviously. And I found that you can best do that through service. So I know that some people have strategies of, going into the office and making phone calls, and they're religious with that, or sending note cards, or maybe doing pop buys. And, it's so cool that we can all be successful doing lots of different things. Consistency, I think, is the key. There's not one way of doing it. But for me, I'm so passionate about service and volunteering that the organizations that I serve, that I work with, I've been, again, very fortunate to be able to get a lot of business from those areas. And the beauty is really the gift that it gives back to you, because you feel like you're earning a living while you're just kind of out there popping popcorn for a local 5K race, right? So I appreciate that you asked that, because it's something that is, I didn't do it for business. I've been a volunteer in Lakota for 15 years, since my oldest daughter went here. And, I want to be actively engaged where my kids go to school, but I've been fortunate enough, because I serve as the chair for the district parent council, to be able to meet people, in all different schools. So, I think that whatever someone's passion is, it can be, race cars or, animals or something. It doesn't really matter. I think that if you marry your business and your passions, you can be quite successful.
Yeah, I know some of you were friends on social media, and you may have seen that I got to spend some time with Gary Vaynerchuk last week, and he said exactly what you just said, Lisa, and that
Oh,
is
really?
that we, because I asked him, I could post about business stuff, no problem, all day long. I could do that. Where I struggle is the personal side, and one of the things that Gary said was that when you show your interests, it opens up your communities. So
Yeah.
he gave an example of, like, somebody that posts mortgage stuff all week long, and then on Friday night it's bowling night, and so they take a picture of themselves with their bowling ball, say, hey, we're headed to bowling league. Well, all of a sudden it has now opened up the fact of the bowling community now sees that they're in mortgage. And so, like you said, your passions, it doesn't feel like work, but it opens you up into so many other communities and avenues that ultimately you can provide value to. So
Yeah. And wouldn't you rather just be bowling all the time than just posting about finance stuff? I mean, it's just more fun, right?
yeah. Okay. So Dee Dee just asked if I invited everybody to go bowling, and I think that'd be a fantastic idea. So
Would be fun.
maybe we'll get something together for that. But my last question for myself, and then I'll open it up to the group. What piece of advice would you give to your fellow top producers?
Gosh, there's so many amazing people on this call. I don't know that any of them need advice, but I think what I would say is that if you're someone who got licensed in the last 5 years, and you even 7, 8 years, or you just kind of turned up your business in the last 5 to 7 years, and maybe you've enjoyed a lot of success, I think the first thing I would say is just don't worry. Okay. Turn your energy into activities, change your activities. Recognize that we have been going at such an insane pace that just because things are changing and they've slowed down, that does not mean that you have to, or you're going to endure a loss in sales volume. It does not mean that now all of a sudden, your career is over or you're back to day one. It literally, to me, just means that we're returning to a more normal market, and that the only thing we know for sure that we can count on is that change. There's no real estate market that exists exactly the same for more than a few years. So, I think my advice would be to say, just breathe a little bit, slow that pace down, maybe learn to be with yourself, and then figure out again ways that you can serve. Because the one thing I know for sure is that if we take care of people, the business will take care of itself.
That's really good. Really good. Okay, who's got a question for Miss Lisa here?
No, you are not a shy group.
Usually they're just trying to figure out how to unmute themselves, because I'm the mute Nazi over here.
Ah.
All right, Julia unmuted herself. Let's hear it, Julia.
Well, Lisa, great job. So proud of you, and take a lot of inspiration from you, because I think that one of your biggest strengths is your positivity and your kindness. And so I just wanted to chime in on that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Right back at you.
All right. Anyone else have a question?
I love you.
Is that Robert? Are you talking to me? Because I love you back. You make my
Robert.
day. I feel the same. Again, just really good company. Thank you, Robert, for bringing all of us together for this opportunity. I told you and a couple others that having a chance to enjoy some quiet myself this weekend and last week, and watch all of the videos of the past guests, just so inspired by so many wonderful people in our industry, and feel truly privileged to know so many great public servants who just care about people, care about earning a good living, care about housing. So I'm grateful to you for bringing everybody together. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm having a blast with this. I mean, I've got a studio microphone now. I've got, lights and everything. This has been a lot of fun. And honestly, I think those of you that know me and we are friends on social, that I have a lot of fun with creating video, maybe too much fun, but so okay, just a quick update. I've got Bishnu Carell next week, and then I have Megan Stacy, and then I have Miranda Bidenharn. So super excited about the next couple of weeks. I am really, really appreciative, Lisa, of you joining. I know Kira's got a game today, and so we're in playoff mode and all of that stuff. So I appreciate it. Jeff's helping take care of his dad, and so seriously, lots of gratitude for doing this. And I appreciate everybody that's been a supporter and continues to be on and provide a lot of great questions. And if you have suggestions of people that I should be looking at for interviews, I'd love it. I'd love it because I just continue to look through the top 150-ish, the top producers, and go pull from there and make requests. So
Very cool.
yes, thank you, Lisa, for being here. I appreciate it. Tim, were you gonna ask a question?
Yeah, I was trying not to interrupt, but
You're good.
thanks for giving me a chance. I did want to say, when I jumped on, I got invited by Adam, Lisa's buying agent, and Adam and I are good friends. And he sent me the invite. This is my first time being on, and I was seeing some of the names that were here, and I was just like, thank you, Lord, that I've been invited to be a part of such a group of people like Robert, Robert Smith. I saw his name on there. I saw Dee Dee's name. I obviously, Lisa Phair. And I'm just reading these names, Morales, and I'm going, oh my gosh, these are some of like the best people in Butler County and even in Cincinnati area. And I was kind of starstruck. So I wanted to just say thanks for having me on, because I've only been in 2 years and I just started counting my blessings like, oh my gosh, I'm on a call with all these amazing people and I've only been a realtor for 2 years. Like, this is so cool. So thank you, Lisa, for sharing. And thank you, Robert, for putting this together. And thanks for letting me just tune in and take notes. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That's
and
nice.
This is not a closed group by any means. So, anybody, when the invites go out, if you share them, that's what it's intended for. So I appreciate that, Tim, for saying that.
Yeah.
All right.
It
Well,
truly is. It's a good service. Good
Yes.
service for us.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for your time. Lisa, I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you here in the Lakota community. And I look forward to speaking with each of you. So thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Bye, Lisa.